Broadcasting live from WOUB TV in Athens, this is Newswatch.
Asbestos and crumbling infrastructure has left the Athens Armory run down, but community members are preparing for extensive renovations. Good evening, I'm Caitlin Roman. Thanks for joining us. Right now, Athens city officials are hosting a public meeting with residents to determine the future of the building. Carter Eckel is live outside of the Armory with the details.
Sitting on Carpenter Street, the old Athens Armory located behind me is still unoccupied. Decisions on what to do with the building have been discussed for the past decade. Many different ideas have been approached, but restoring the building's infrastructure is projected to cost well over $1 million. Now, the recommended changes include updating a 2003 study done, completing a feasibility study on the best use of the armory, and of course removing the asbestos in the building. Renovation suggestions include turning it into a arts and culture center, a multi-purpose building with retail business space, or something else. That something else may even include constructing a new building entirely. Caitlin, the meeting on determining the building's future is currently underway at the Athens Community Center.
Great. Thanks, Carter. And the Athens County Crime Solvers Anonymous is working to end rampant crime. Stolen vehicles, business break-ins, and counterfeit money issues have increased this month. Both the Athens PD and Nelsonville Police Departments are investigating multiple stolen vehicle reports over the summer months. APD is also investigating break-ins at Brony's Alumni Grill and the Red Brick Tavern. Crime Solvers Anonymous has also found counterfeit bills in both Athens and Nelsonville. Athens County Crime Solvers Anonymous is offering a $2,000 cash reward for any useful information. It was another busy weekend for the Ohio University Police Department. 2 rapes were reported to OUPD this weekend. The first was reported at 3:42 a.m. on Saturday in Pickering, and the second was reported at 12:08 a.m. on Sunday in Bush Hall. Both reports cited unwanted sexual contact from an acquaintance. Incidents like this are concerning to students.
It's really concerning, especially I didn't know, and that it's so close to the beginning of the school year that that's already happening. It's really sad.
Both cases are currently under investigation by OUPD. There were also 2 similar reports from late last week that are being investigated by the Athens Police Department. A new ordinance could make it easier for the Athens Police Department and the Ohio University Police Department to work together during large events. The change would allow for the 2 departments to aid one another without billing the other for hours. The current ordinance has been in place for nearly 30 years.
We've had quite a few hot days, and today was no different. Good evening and welcome to the Newswatch Weather Center. I'm Allison Gens. Right now in Athens, it's 87 degrees and our humidity is at 59% and our wind is 6 miles per hour. Now looking around the region, temperatures are in the upper 80s. We have 88 in Columbus, 86 in Cambridge, 88 also in Chillicothe, and 87 in Marietta. And now tonight, overnight, it's going to be a warm and humid night, and we're going to see lows around the 70s, 73 in Columbus, 70 in New Martinsville, and 71 in Marietta. Now you may be asking where this humidity is coming from. Well, there's actually some low-level moisture in the region that's bringing in some moisture around, and that is combining with our above normal temperatures. That's giving us that humidity that's going to be lingering around for a few more days, and you'll definitely feel that if you're heading out tonight, this evening, and that's going to continue into tomorrow. So it's definitely, I know we had our unofficial start of fall with Labor Day. Well, it's going to continue to feel like summer a little bit longer, and I'll have a little bit more about that also in my extended forecast.
Ohio's new medical marijuana law is taking effect Thursday. The law allows people with certain listed conditions to begin using marijuana immediately, but it's unclear where they would legally get it. However, the state has yet to outline how the law will work, leaving several unanswered questions by doctors, patients, pharmacists, police, and others. Rules for producing, prescribing, and distributing cannabis to eligible patients are expected to take up to a year to craft. An issue on the November ballot will be limited to voters in Proctorville. People in Lawrence County could soon be able to buy alcohol for the first time without having to cross into West Virginia or neighboring counties. If approved, customers could buy beer and wine at the Kroger in Proctorville. It will not allow alcohol to be sold at other gas stations or convenience stores, or allowed to be sold on Sundays. Wheeling City Council will ask state officials for permission to legalize Sunday morning alcohol sales. According to the Intelligencer, council members unanimously approved an ordinance to submit an amendment to the West Virginia Municipal Home Rule Board. If approved, City Council would then decide on a final ordinance to allow the sale of alcohol for local businesses with licenses as early as 10 a.m. on Sundays. The board is expected to consider this matter on October 3rd. Ohio State Highway Patrol says the number of crash deaths on Ohio's highways during the long Labor Day weekend decreased compared to last year. The initial count showed 11 crashes, resulting in 11 deaths from Friday through Monday, 3 fewer deaths than last year's Labor Day weekend. Troopers arrested 730 drivers for operating a vehicle under the influence of drugs or alcohol, and more than 4,800 drivers were cited for seatbelt violations. Today is the deadline for West Virginia residents affected by flooding in June to apply for federal assistance from the Federal Emergency Management Administration and to submit applications for U.S. Small Business Administration loans. According to FEMA, about 8,800 households have applied for help since President Obama issued a disaster declaration. The June floods killed 23 people and destroyed homes, businesses, and infrastructure. Senate Democrats and Republicans are back in the ring, this time fighting over how to fund the battle against Zika. We'll tell you why Democrats are the ones blocking this major bill. Those details coming up after the break. More airstrikes rain down on Syria will break down the scene in Aleppo. These stories and more when Newswatch returns. Congress came back this week from their summer recess, and the battle over how to fund the fight against Zika virus has continued, with Senate Democrats yesterday blocking a $1.1 billion funding bill with some controversial amendments, and today additional calls for action on both sides of the aisle. Diane Gallagher has the report from Washington, D.C. on the latest congressional battle.
As the fight against the rise of Zika continues from the air and on the ground in Florida.
On this vote, the yeas are 52, the nays are 46.
A different kind of battle drags on Capitol Hill over funding to combat the Zika virus.
Speaker Ryan, please bring a clean bill to the floor. The people of America are depending on you. The unborn children of America are depending on you.
Now, Democrats are crying foul over provisions in the $1.1 billion House bill stripping a ban on Confederate flags in military cemeteries and blocking Planned Parenthood funding.
Republicans continue to play politics with this crisis.
But House Speaker Paul Ryan,
look, give me a break on this thing,
objects to the criticism.
The House did its job, and the Senate has been blatantly political with Zika funding. We'll figure out how to get this done. But we have done our job over and over again, and I think they should drop these partisan filibusters.
Not all members of his party agree.
The politics of Zika have gone on far too long.
Florida Republican David Jolly bringing a container of 100 Aedes aegypti mosquitoes to the House floor.
Can you imagine, colleagues, the fear and anxiety in this chamber if these 100 mosquitoes were outside this jar, not inside this jar? Members of Congress would run down the hall to the physician's office to be tested. They would spray themselves before coming down here. This is the fear of Floridians right here.
House Republicans are meeting Friday and say they believe they can get this funding through by the end of the month. Reporting for WOUB News, I'm Diane Gallagher.
Earlier this month, the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services announced the first finding of Zika carrying mosquitoes in Miami Beach. Airstrikes continue to ravage Syria today, killing 2 people at a market. The attacks on the rebel-held neighborhood Aleppo have risen exponentially. Just yesterday, an alleged chlorine gas attack injured more than 100 people at the same place. CNN's Arwa Damon describes the chaos. A warning to our viewers, these images are graphic.
Images very difficult to look at as well. Small children gasping for breath as people try to rush to their assistance, but one must also remember that they are not able to access a fully functional hospital. They are being taken care of in what are mostly underground hospitals because those above ground have already been bombed.
Syria's 5-year civil war has resulted in over 400,000 people dead and caused about 11 million to flee their homes. A controversial Charlie Hebdo cartoon on the deadly earthquake in Italy has sparked an angry response.
The cartoon in the French satirical weekly Charlie Hebdo shows 2 bruised and bloodied figures from the August 24th earthquake that left nearly 300 people dead, likening them to pasta dishes. And a third part of that cartoon is bodies crushed between the collapsed floors of a building titled Lasagna. Its humor Italians find disgusting, in bad taste, and offensive.
And to add insult to injury, Charlie Hebdo illustrated another cartoon titled, "Hey Italians, Charlie Hebdo didn't build your house, the mafia did." To those cartoons, Italian Interior Minister replied, "We wept for their dead and they laughed at ours." The French embassy trying to control the damage, saying Charlie Hebdo does not reflect the position of France. After more than 50 years of embargo, Americans are lining up to fly to Cuba. American Airlines' first flight to Cuba departed from Miami International Airport today. American now offers flights to 5 different locations in Cuba and will travel to Havana later this year. JetBlue offered the first direct commercial flight last week. And on Wall Street today, the NASDAQ ended with a gain with some help from Apple, which rose over 0.5% following their iPhone 7 reveal. Now, here's a look at stocks of local interest. A new study shows that better insurance coverage doesn't always add up to better health care. The story is ahead in today's Health Minute.
Hot and humid temperatures are ahead and might see a couple showers to end the week. I'll tell you more about that in my extended forecast next on Newswatch.
Professors really care. They care about my grades, they care about my opportunities, they care about my experiences, they want me to succeed.
They give those opportunities to the students.
My professors have been extremely approachable.
Literally, their door is always open.
You can go to them with pretty much anything. Everyone knows your first and your last name and where you sit in the classroom.
I really never feel like I'm being talked down to or just being taught material. I always feel like I'm having a conversation.
And they want to share those opportunities and those experiences with us.
Ohio University students really have a huge sense of pride in our campus, in our school, and in our education.
People don't come to Ohio just to go to college. They come here to become a Bobcat.
It's a really unique atmosphere.
Bobcat pride is having that natural camaraderie.
Bobcats are just happy to be Bobcats.
My favorite time of year at Ohio has to be homecoming.
When the alumni come back, you can see that the love of this university doesn't fade.
Once you're a Bobcat, you're always a Bobcat.
I knew that I wanted to come to Ohio University from the very first time I visited here.
There's something about the campus that grabs you.
It was really comforting.
Very welcoming.
It's one thing to write down your name and your GPA and that kind of stuff and send it in. It's another thing entirely to be here and see how great it is.
The campus here is just electric.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Everything just looked really college-like.
I looked at my mom and I said, "This is it." And she said, "The tour's just started." I said, "No, you don't understand. This is it."
Friday nights are all about high school football, but when the games are over and the helmets come off, it's time for some gridiron glory. I'm your host, Danny Dean, back under center. Don't miss a play this season. Join myself and the rest of our team on Friday nights at 11:30 on WOUB, and catch us again on Saturday mornings at 11:30. We are committed to bringing you the stories of players, coaches, and communities, and of course, we can't forget about some highlights. We all know there's nothing better than Friday nights and gridiron glory.
Good evening and welcome back to the Newswatch Weather Center. I'm Allison Gens. Right now in Athens, it's 87 degrees with mostly sunny skies out there, and our winds are west 5 miles per hour, and it is a little bit humid with humidity at 59%. Around the region, temperatures are in the upper 80s. We have 87 in Newark, 86 in Cambridge, 86 as well in New Martinsville, and 88 in Ripley. Now, our almanac today shows that we weren't quite to our record high. Our high was 92 degrees. Our record in 2002 was 97, but we were very close. Our normal for this time of year is only 76, so we are feeling a lot warmer temperatures than we should be feeling for this time of year in September. Our sunset will set at 7:45 p.m. Now, our precipcast for tonight is showing that we have high pressure over our region right now. That's going to continue to keep things warm and dry. Now, we might see, because there is that high humidity, a couple pop-up showers over the region tonight, especially in some of our more northern portions of our region, but that's not too much to worry about for tonight. Mostly it's going to look like it's going to stay clear and dry. Now, tomorrow, high pressure is beginning to work its way out of the region, and then this system begins to move its way through, bringing showers for mostly the northern portions of Ohio, but that could also bring a chance for, again, pop-up showers into the northern parts of our region. So that could be affecting you throughout your afternoon tomorrow. And overnight tonight, temperatures not dropping very much. 73 in Columbus, 71 in New Lexington, 70 in Ripley, and we'll see partly cloudy skies and mostly clear skies throughout the region. Now tomorrow, warming up again, it's going to be another hot day. Temperatures in the low 90s and also upper 80s, 89 in Newark and Cambridge, 90 in New Martinsville, and 92 in Marietta, with mostly sunny to partly cloudy skies throughout the day. Now tonight, temperatures again are high of 71 degrees with partly cloudy skies, and it's going to be a warm and muggy night. So with that high humidity in effect, we'll see winds at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Now tomorrow morning, as you take your kids to the bus stop, 72 degrees, so it's already going to be warming up for you in the morning, and you'll see mostly clear skies, so you don't need to worry about that umbrella for your kids in the morning, and then winds southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Now tomorrow, our high in Athens, 92 degrees, mostly sunny skies, and it is going to be hot and humid, like I said. Winds southwest 5 to 15 miles per hour. Looking at your extended forecast, temperatures are going to continue to be warm into the weekend, but there is a slight chance of some showers for Friday night and into Saturday.
Thanks, Allison. Does better insurance equal better health care? According to a new study, not necessarily. Some doctors may be recommending unnecessary tests to their better insured patients, providing low-value services and running up insurance costs. Kim Hutcherson has more.
In medical terms, low-value services are defined as providing little value to the patient when costs and alternatives are taken into account. A recent study shows that of insurance claims from nearly 1.5 million people in 2013, just under 8% of people had received these low-value services. They can include hormone tests for thyroid problems, X-rays or MRI scans for lower back pain, and brain scans for uncomplicated headaches. The study focused on a narrow margin of services, but those accounted for 0.5% of total spending, more than $32 million in 2013 alone. So why are doctors providing unnecessary tests? Many factors come into play. Sometimes a patient asks for a certain test, and doctors oblige to avoid potential lawsuits. Self-appointing committees that decide which treatments or procedures are low quality may have conflicts of interest, so their guidelines may not always be objective. Treatment recommendations change as new technology and research are released. Researchers did note that healthcare disparities cut both ways, underinsured patients not getting enough care, while overinsured patients get a lot of poor quality care. For today's Health Minute, I'm Kim Hutcherson.
The health sector accounts for over $2.9 trillion every year, accounting for 17.4% of the economy. And now over to Justin Holbrook with sports.
Thanks, Caitlin. Good evening, everyone. I'm Justin Holbrook. There's plenty to watch in sports since we've been gone, so I'll be giving you a quick rewind on what's been happening with Ohio University sports. And basketball is still a few months away from getting started, but the schedules for men's and women's basketball has been released, so I'll highlight a few key dates to keep in mind when the season rolls around. And here's a look at what's coming up tonight on your public television station.
Friday nights are all about high school football, but when the games are over and the helmets come off, it's time for some gridiron glory. I'm your host, Danny Dean, back under center. Don't miss a play this season. Join myself and the rest of our team on Friday nights at 11:30 on WOUB, and catch us again on Saturday mornings at 11:30. We are committed to bringing you the stories of players, coaches, and communities, and of course, we can't forget about some highlights. We all know there's nothing better than Friday nights and gridiron glory.
Ohio University students really have a huge sense of pride in our campus, in our school, and in our education.
People don't come to Ohio just to go to college. They come here to become a Bobcat.
It's a really unique atmosphere.
Bobcat pride is having that natural camaraderie.
Bobcats are just happy to be Bobcats.
My favorite time of year at Ohio has to be homecoming.
When the alumni come back, you can see that the love of this university doesn't fade.
Once you're a Bobcat, you're always a Bobcat.
My professors really care. They care about my grades, they care about my opportunities, they care about my experiences. They want me to succeed.
They give those opportunities to the students.
My professors have been extremely approachable.
Literally, their door is always open.
You can go to them with pretty much anything. Everyone knows your first and your last name and where you sit in the classroom.
I really never feel like I'm being talked down to or just being taught material. I always feel like I'm having a conversation.
And they want to share those opportunities and those experiences with us.
I knew that I wanted to come to Ohio University from the very first time I visited here.
There's something about the campus that grabs you.
It was really comforting.
Very welcoming.
It's one thing to write down your name and your GPA and that kind of stuff and send it in. It's another thing entirely to be here and see how great it is.
The campus here is just electric.
Absolutely gorgeous. Everything just looked really college-like.
I looked at my mom and I said, "This is it." And she said, "The tour's just started." I said, "No, you don't understand. This is it."
Welcome back, everyone. There's a lot to catch up on from Ohio athletics over the past month, so let's get right to it. Yesterday, the Ohio men's basketball team announced its 30-game schedule for the upcoming season. There's a lot of high expectations for this team, which returns all but one player from last year. So let's take a look at some of the key dates for the Bobcats this season. The team gets the season started on November 12th with a home game against Southern. The Jaguars won 22 games last year and clinched an NCAA berth after winning the Southwestern Conference title game. Saul Phillips' team makes its first road trip of the season to Atlanta to take on an ACC team in Georgia Tech, with their last game dating all the way back to 1960. And in January, action starts for the Bobcats when they take on Western Michigan at home on January 3rd. And on the women's side, the team will be determined to come back strong after winning the regular season title last year, but losing in the quarterfinal of the MAC tournament. The season starts on November 13th when Ohio travels to High Point, North Carolina to take on the Panthers. Then in December, Bob Bolden's team faces their biggest non-conference challenge in two Big Ten opponents. First, the Bobcats play host to Michigan on December 13th, and 3 days before Christmas, they travel all the way to Illinois, they host a game in Illinois and travel to Ann Arbor for a game against Michigan. Now switching gears, the baseball season is heating up and the playoffs are less than a month away. One team in a position to make a deep run this postseason are the Cleveland Indians, who find themselves 4.5 games up in the American League Central. The Indians took on the Houston Astros, who are battling for a wild card spot. After last year's AL Cy Young winner Dallas Keuchel was scratched from making the start, Houston used 6 different pitchers to beat Cleveland 4-3. 3 of Cleveland's 4 runs came off the bat of Marwin Gonzalez, who smacked a 3-run home run to right field in the top of the second. Both teams finished with 7 hits, but the Tribe fell 1 run short, giving Corey Kluber his 9th loss of the season. Despite the loss, the Indians remain 4.5 games up in their division. First pitch for today's game is 7:10 in Cleveland. In Cincinnati baseball, the Reds, they have not been doing as well at all. The team has been struggling for most of the year, and the Indians and the Reds just don't have a shot at the playoffs. But this afternoon, Cincinnati took on last year's National League champion, the New York Mets, and the Mets are in playoff competition once again, as they're only half a game back from the second wildcard spot. Today's game was the last of the 3-game series between the two teams and ended with the same result as the first two. Cincinnati gave up 13 hits, including 3 home runs and 2 doubles, both of which brought home a run for the Mets, and the Reds lost 6-3. This marks the 4th straight loss for Cincinnati, and is also the 4th game in a row the team has given up at least 5 runs. And since this is our first episode back, let's hit rewind and take a look back at some of the past action over this last month. On the gridiron, Ohio took part in its first ever triple overtime game, ending up on the wrong end of a 56-54 loss to Texas State. That was a tough game for the Bobcats, and they just couldn't get anything going. Some of the biggest takeaways for that game was that A.J. Ouellette had a serious foot injury. Greg Wyndham threw for 380 yards and 0 interceptions, but the Bobcats gave up 440 yards passing. And in Ohio volleyball, the team started out rough. They lost 4 games in a row, but 2 of their last 3 games have been a win, and the volleyball team returns on Friday. They go to Norman, Oklahoma for the Nike Invitational. And in Ohio soccer, the team comes back. They have a 2-2 record, and those 2 losses came in overtime losses 2-1. That's all for sports. Back to you, Caitlin.
Thanks, Justin. Now, Apple has officially announced the iPhone 7 and iPhone 7 Plus today. New features include water resistance, an additional hour of battery life, the long-rumored dual camera system. Also new is the pressure-sensitive home button, stereo speakers, and a darker black color scheme. And the rumors are true, there is no headphone jack. Instead, the new AirPods will activate automatically when you put them in your ear.
Well, let's take one final look at your weather. 71 tonight with partly cloudy skies, and it's going to be a warm and muggy night, and not much different tomorrow. Hot and humid again with 92 degrees for our high temperature. Looking at your extended forecast, it's going to stay hot and humid for the next few days, and a chance of thunderstorms and showers move their way in on Friday. Caitlin?
Thanks, Allison, and that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. I'm Caitlin Roman. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. And remember, you can find the latest news anytime at WOUB.org. Have a great night.